Desire can be a very wonky thing. Because if all of your needs are met, would you strive for more? Like everything you need is there. Will you want to do more? And there are some schools of thought that say, yeah, you'll just want to do what interests you. But even then, if you're able to immediately accomplish those interests, do you want to do them? Would you even want to? If you achieve your ultimate goal, could there be unforeseen consequences, Could you get something that completely recontextualizes the goal you had in the first place? Hey, howdy, I'm Boingo. Welcome to Gateway to Geats. And there's a lot of chunky stuff this episode, a lot of things to look at, and a lot of things to talk about. Mainly talking about fighting for desires. This episode, and maybe what this arc is kind of trying to ask, and what desires and how they're met and all this kind of stuff, because we come in with Buffa, and he's been trying to destroy the Kamen Riders. That's been his goal the entire time. He's the angsty dude who's just like, fuck Kamen Riders, right? Because his friend died, right? His friend died, and he's like, fuck Kamen Riders. But ultimately, we're being introduced to this new Yamato game, and the Yamato are taking on more and more human characteristics. And now there's one Yamato who has his friend's memories, and his face, and his personality, and all of this, and ultimately, in some regard, Buffa's ultimate goal is pointless. He's not getting revenge on his friend anymore. His friend's right there. But then there's also the aspect of, like, is that really his friend? Is this what he wants? Would he want this? Is this what his friends want? Is this what his friend as a Yamato wants? Is this what this Yamato, using his friend to egg him on, is just trying to do? There's layers to this, and it creates this interesting dynamic of what it truly makes the human, what truly makes the concept, So, does he really need to still try and destroy all the Kamen Riders? Is that still a thing he needs to do? Or was his anger at Kamen Riders just grief at the loss of his friend? And now that he has that friend back, is that anger still present? Is that grief still with him? Neither he nor us can really dwell on it, because they're immediately told, hey, Yamato's done to do the game, attack the people, whoever causes the most destruction and misery wins, all this kind of stuff, right? I mean, and our heroes try and stop them, but it is fruitless. The round goes out. There's just too many Yamatos. They're outnumbered, outgunned. There's only 3 heroes to however many Yamatos there are. And at the end of the round, we learn a little bit more about Buffa and his friend's past. Like, how did they come to meet? Who were they? And they were a couple of street punks, a couple of ruffians, and they got apparently a good job in a construction business, and they really turned their lives around. And sadly, one of their lives got cut short because of the Desire Grand Prix, and that kind of sucks. That sucks. But does Buffa's destruction really reflect who he is as a person? He moved past that from his delinquent days. He grew into a more fully realized adult. And is it really his goal to destroy Kamen Riders, or is that his grief? Is that him lashing out? Does him being with the Yamato and his friend coming back challenge his fundamental want of the destruction of Kamen Riders? And I think that's an interesting thing to think about. Meanwhile, our heroes are the only ones who can stop all this Yamato nonsense. The DGP is basically like, hey, we can't give you anything, but you gotta, can you? And I love how all of them are just like, yes, people are in danger. We're gonna go be heroes. Dickheads. Great little moment, too, as they're, like, walking out to go save people. Keiwa just grabs the collar and straightens it from the Game Master. And it's just, like, it's such a simple little way of showing that Keiwa is gaining more confidence, that he's becoming this big hero, like Geats already is. And it's just like, oh, it's really nice. But, yeah, boy, some sponsors are trying to help them out, giving power-ups, doing little things like that, so on and so forth. And we get some encouragement from the sponsors to their people. Karika gives some context about being from the future of like, hey, dude, you know the everyday lives of the people who were in fucking Egypt? It's the same thing for us. You're interesting, but we don't know the ins and outs of all your shit. And Neon gets egged on by her sponsor, encouraged, and all that kind of stuff. As we cut to the producer and Neon's dad, as we're given a bombshell. So, last week, I said that there was an important line of, you can even wish for a child, all that kind of stuff. Well, it is important, because her dad fought in the DGP to get a daughter. Right now, he's adamant that she gets her desire. And that makes me think, that makes me wonder, maybe because because Neon came about because he fought and got his desire, maybe Neon shouldn't have existed. You know? This is like, she doesn't fit into the timeline and all that kind of stuff. And maybe that's why he's so adamant that she gets to be in the DGP and she has to win. Because otherwise, she will get nothing. She has no fate. She has no destiny that will ultimately line up with what the future. She has nothing, and she wants her, and he wants her to have something. To go for a goal, to struggle for, you know. And it can also explain why her mom is so protective of like, oh, she's a miracle baby. She shouldn't exist, but yet here she is. And it's fascinating. And Ace has a conversation with Jean where we basically get the confirmation that like the future is a post-scarcity, post-problem world. And for some people, that's incredibly boring. It's like there's nothing to work for. What use is there? So finding the struggle in the past is fascinating to them, and that's an interesting conceptual idea for the future, you know? Everything in the future is just taken care of, so there's no reason to be worried, you know? And then we get into the second round. Buffa and Geats clash all the while, and Buffa gets a power-up for doing exactly what he would normally done. It's just a cheap, easy way to give him strength. And we end the episode with them clashing. We don't see the output. I'm liking the cliffhangers for this arc so far. It's interesting, you know? But overall, really good episode. I really enjoyed it. It's really settling into a new status quo, really kind of setting everything up for us. And it's really asking the question, is it getting everything you want all it's cracked up to be? Because we have Neon's dad and his worry and concern about his daughter, and we have Jean and his ennui of just like, yeah, the future's kind of boring, and all this kind of stuff. We just have an entire future made of Enos from Guilty Gear, and it's just like, oh god, that sounds terrifying. Does having everything taken care of, whoa, hold on, what did I write? Does having everything make you take, does having everything at your fingertips make you take things for granted? Because look at the DGP and just how reckless they've been with just everything. Like, they have no regard for any of it because, fuck it, snap your fingers, it all comes back. Great character work from everyone in the show. They got a damn good kid actor for the kid role in this episode. And it just has a lot of fun action. Really good episode. Really good thoughts put in place. But you know what time it is? It's time to talk some comments. First things first, we got from the ever-present Fish Pop. It's always a bummer when shows do recap episodes. At least we saw Karika and Kyun transform. Even though they have CG beast forms, a frog, and winged lion, rather than rider forms. Getting to see Ace's first henshin was pretty nice. Yeah, a clip show suboptimal. It's not the best thing in the world, but hey, you know, it's nice to have something kind of like bridging the information and the gap and all that kind of stuff. It works for what it was. But yeah, it's nice to see those monsters transform. It's really cool to see all that kind of stuff. Here's a dirty little secret. I kind of like that they're not human riders. A, that means they're not going to be used a super ton. And B, it makes the human riders feel more purposeful, and it makes the hero cast feel less bloated, because they're just big monsters that are over there, you know? It's, I don't know. I think there should be a top limit of riders for a season. You know what I mean? And like, we've had a lot of frickin', what's the word I'm looking for? Filler mooks, red shirts. But yeah, I think the designs are pretty cool. I can't wait to see them as toys. Next up, a comment from Toanui 1. I actually like how they showed Ace's supposed first henshin, as it kind of feels to me that they were treating it like it was part of the clip show. Yeah, it definitely was framed like part of a clip show of like, hey, remember when kind of thing, but it is brand new information for us. But for the people who are in the episode, it is a clip. That's a very neat little bit of framing. Though I'm still hesitant to say it's the first henshin, just because Ace was so goddamn suspicious during that, and he's already went like, oh yeah, I was in fucking Rome. There's a lot of red flags going on. Next up, from Slime Beast 2003, the clip show was good. I think the frog guy is literally a frog, and he just appears as a human somehow. I have something else important to say, but I forgot. That's fine. It's fine to forget. And at the end of the world, no worries, Slime Beast. But you know, with what Jean said, maybe humanity's kind of in like post-scarcity human upload online simulation thing, and maybe that's why Karika's a frog. It's just like, he's uploaded and it doesn't matter. He doesn't have a human body, so he could be anything he wants, so he's just a frog. Because also, whenever they henshin, they have all the blocks and stuff, and it feels very kind of like digital programming, kind of like building a simulation thing. There's interesting things to think about here. Next up, from Esconde. I think it's awesome that you mentioned, I think it's awesome timing that you mentioned X-Aid in the last video. The Jumato Grand Prix gives me a vibe similar to X-Aid's Kamen Rider Chronicle, a game made from the monster's sake to fight humanity. The first JGP being called Lamentations is also a very cool arc name. I'm pretty biased, but I think it's fair to say Keiwa is a fan favorite, and I feel like the writers know this. The heroic ninja rider, supporter with a frog motif, to me at least, Keiwa is the successor to Kamen Rider Shinobi. I think it's funny that Karika is kind of the Keiwa of the supporter quartet when we got that little comedy moment of Baroba not recognizing him. By the way, what do you think will be a nice name for the main protag trio we have in Geats? Baraba and Co. being called the Plant Crew is fun. Yeah, the Plant Crew. I hope we get to see more of the sponsors. They are fun, and I like their interactions with each other. It's just fun, all that kind of stuff. I definitely feel like Keiwa is a fan favorite, not just for us, the audience, but for the writers, because they give him so much. But I think, knowing what I know about the head writer, because he also did X-Aid and 01, I've noticed a pattern, because in X-Aid, you have the good, wholesome dude as the main character, who wants to be a good hero guy, and then there's the megalomaniacal asshole idiot over to the side that everyone immediately goes hog wild for. So you have Emu, and then you have Dan Kuroto, right? And in 01, you have a pretty good, dopey main character dude. And then you have the megalomaniacal asshole guy that everyone fucking falls in love with. I'm thinking like, the writer came into fucking Geats and was like, yo, alright, cool. So the previous two ones, I made a megalomaniacal dude, and everybody fucking fell in love with him, but he wasn't the main character. So let's make him the main character this time, and I'll just have a side character be the dopey guy, right? And it's the complete opposite now. It's like, everyone's just like, oh yeah, Geats is cool, but Keiwa, though. Fucking Keiwa. And it's just like, this guy can't win. This guy just can't win. But yeah, it's fun, given that we're in like a good like midpoint. You know, we're in the midpoint of the season. It's fine to get a clip show and all that kind of stuff. And it's fun twisting the rules we already know with the JGP. That is interesting. And we had a little bit of a back and forth, Esconde, in the comments. Yeah, Trickstars is too good, Esconde. It is too good of a name, Trickstars, because they're all based off of Japanese folklore creatures that are like tricksters. So you have the Kitsune, the Tanuki, the Nekomata, and it's just like, fuck, that's good. Damn, that's good. But next up, we have Sakura Tora. If Karika manifests or really is a statue in the DGP viewing rooms but chooses to manifest as a human in the DGP game area, could it be the same for the goddess creation? Exists as a huge statue in the DGP area of reality, or whatever her chosen form is as Ace's mom? Just remembered Kitsune in Japanese folklore and how they can change shapes, seeing as how frogs and ninja are part of the Jiraiya myth. And they're really making a lot of references to it for Keiwa and Karika. I wonder if what other Japanese folklore they'll involve in Geats. In fact, Ace's story specifically reminds me of Kuzunoha, Kitsune who turns into a woman, saves a military commander, has a son who is ridiculously smart, and she realizes he must have inherited some of her powers, and she leaves her son and husband behind when it's discovered she's really a Kitsune. She also leaves something behind for them to find her one last time before she leaves forever. Sounds familiar, no? There is a lot of folklore stuff leaning up on this. For what is seemingly like a very tech-heavy show, the fact that they're using a lot of folklore is interesting as a thematic element in of itself. And man, there's a lot of good ideas with the folklore stuff. Like I even like said, like, oh man, we gotta do some research about Nekomata and stuff like that in Japanese folklore. And you brought up this, like, yeah, there was a cat themed yokai thing that like turned into a geisha, and like all these kind of things. I'm just sitting here like, yo, you mean geishas who entertain people with their own personal time and parasocial relationships, something much like a streamer influencer? It's fascinating to think about, and I definitely feel like they're going to lean into that Kitsune folklore stuff for Ace and his mom. And if the statue is Ace's mom, that would be really good, because that would also be like a great ironic twist of like he was this close the entire time to seeing his mom, mainly because he kept winning. And so technically his mom was giving him what he wants, but like it's funny. It'd be an interesting little thing. Yeah, the main three are definitely mythologically inspired, and I can't wait to see what happens with that. And while it's not Japanese, I had an idea. What if Buffa is like a minotaur, and like right now he's lost in the labyrinth of like morality and his choices? Not exactly lines up, but we'll see what happens. But that's it for this episode of Gateway to Geats. Remember, like this video, leave me a comment, it helps out a lot, and subscribe to this channel to see these videos and many more in the future. Till next time, I hope you stay Geatsing.